Hey comic book fans, Chris the Jedi here, coming to you with my comic book review for the week of September 14th, 2011. I want to thank you guys for joining me. What I'm going to do real quick at the beginning is go over a few books that weren't on my pick list for the week of September 7th. These are books that either my wife got or the wonderful people at Arkham Comics here in Blytheville, Arkansas, suggested that I read. Also, this is the third time I've tried to shoot this video because YouTube only gives me 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to go through these really fast. I'm sorry if I don't get a very good review done, especially on these titles from the 7th. Anyhow, let's go. Swamp Thing, number 1. I thought this is a pretty decent title. I don't know that I'll read it every month. It was okay. I may read it for the first couple months and see where it's going. But I'm a tights and cape guy. My wife is huge into horror comics, and she really, really liked this. So I would say, on her suggestion, if you're into horror comics, if you're into kind of the weird, kind of the strange, go ahead and pick up Swamp Thing. Check it out. In fact, I would also suggest that you go back and read some of the older titles just to kind of familiarize yourself with the Swamp Thing mythology if you don't know anything about it. I believe they were originally released in Vertigo, which is a subsidiary of DC Comics, kind of a sister thing. Anyhow, so Swamp Thing was pretty good. Next, and this one, I know I kind of flashed the cover. This one was great. I suggest this to anyone, even if you're not really that big of a comic book fan. I suggest this, and it is Animal Man number 1. This was Jeff Lemire and Travel Foreman. Travel? I don't know. Anyhow, Lemire and Foreman, great job. The art on this, I really liked it. It's kind of, there were some times when I looked over and my wife was reading, I was like, did Frank Quitely do the work on this? Frank Quitely from All-Star Superman, which is my favorite Superman story ever. Anyhow, it's just really, really cool art. But anyhow, Animal Man is an animal activist with he's vegan. His whole family is vegan. So if you're vegan or you're into that and you're like, oh, that's cool. If they have a vegan superhero, go ahead and pick it up just for that. No other reason, just for that. It's really cool. It was really cool to read. Basically, when he's near an animal, he can pick up their powers or their abilities. I suppose it's not really powers if you're an animal, but he can fly like a bird, or he has the scaled strength of an ant. So it's really cool. It's a really cool title. I would this is one that I'm definitely going to read every month because I really liked it. I come from a hardcore scene, and so I have a lot of vegan friends and animal rights is very important. And so I have a lot of friends who are just really, really loving this Animal Man title, even if they don't normally read comics. So I suggest it. Last, and this is my last title for the week of the 7th, and this actually might have been my pick of the week had I actually picked it up then. And that's Batwing number 1. Written by Judd Winnick, art by Ben Oliver, and this was fantastic. In fact, let me just pull it out and show you some of these panels. It's dark, which is what you want from Batman. It's gritty. The art is really, really good. And let me find a really good panel here to kind of show some of the things that's been happening. But basically, this stems from the Batman Inc. that happened as the previous DC universe was wrapping up, and Bruce had come back, and he decided Batman needed to be bigger than just one person. So, this is Batwing. He is the South African portion of the Batman franchise, and it was so good. He's a cop by day. He's kind of a pencil pusher, desk cop, and then at night he is the South African Batman. It's really cool. Here is the last panel. I hope you can see. I hope I'm getting this in there. Basically, whoever the villain is in this issue, which they haven't exactly figured out, has come into the police station, last panel, murdered everybody, and written "Stay away" in blood on the walls. If that's not a good Batman story, I don't care where this Batman is located. That's a good Batman story. I love Batman, and I think that is a great, great story. So this is going to be going on my pick list. I will be reading that every month. Next, we'll start with the books for the 14th. First up is my only Marvel title that I read, and I'm happy to say that because right now Marvel's putting out a lot of crap. Anyhow, this one was really close for my pick of the week. There were two other books, and we'll get to that, but there were two other books that just kind of beat it out just a little bit. But this is Amazing Spider-Man 669. Written by Slott, art by Ramos. This is great. I'm very picky on Spider-Man. If you don't draw him right, it really doesn't matter how good the writing is. There just has to be this certain thing about the way Spider-Man looks, and Ramos captures it. This is great. This Spider Island story has been great. Some neat things happen in here. You find out they've developed a cure for it, or something like that, and they're getting ready to test it on J. Jonah Jameson, who's now the mayor. If you haven't been reading Spider-Man, he's now the mayor. But before they test it on him, they decide, hey, we need to test you to see if you've got it, because if so, then it's a waste of time to give this to you. So anyhow, they test him. He does have the spider virus. The Spidey-hating J. Jonah Jameson has the spider virus. So I'm really interested to see where that goes. And it's been a really good story. You see here in the last few pages of 669 that the third phase of the virus has taken over, and everyone's starting to turn into, instead of being like Spider-Man with just cool spider powers, now they're turning into big freakish spider monsters. So Manhattan Island full of big freakish spider monsters is like the coolest thing ever. I mean, what more could you ask for in a comic book? That's just awesome. That's awesome. Anyhow, pick up Amazing Spider-Man. Like I said, in my opinion, and I'll probably offend some hardcore Marvel fans out there, but in all honesty, I do not care. In my opinion, Amazing Spider-Man is the only Marvel title worth reading right now. Although the new Ultimate Hawkeye looked interesting. If anyone knows anything about that, leave me a comment down there. Let me know how that's going. But it just looked interesting. It didn't really look like it was going to be awesome or anything. It just kind of looked interesting. Anyhow, on with the reviews. Now here we go to DC. This DC New 52 is just, it's phenomenal. I'm liking most of these books. I say it's phenomenal because it's unprecedented. No one's ever really done this before. Maybe it's a marketing scheme, whatever. They're bringing in a lot of really cool characters, like Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. Number 1. This is one of my wife's titles. This is another one written by Jeff Lemire. So, this was really good. I don't know that I'll read it like I read Animal Man. It wasn't that interesting to me. It was good, and it was a really good setup story. It just wasn't that interesting to me. But I will read it for the first couple of months and review it and kind of see how it's going. And you never know, over the next few months, I may change my mind, and this may be something that I just have to read every time. But it was okay. The art was pretty cool. We've got some cool characters in here. Like I said, a decent storyline. For those of you who are Tights and Cape fans, Ray Palmer is the scientist for Shade, and he's developed this shrinking thing for them so they can shrink their base down to be very minuscule, and they can hide it from bad guys. So if you know Ray Palmer as Adam, then you know that it makes perfect sense that he would be the scientist to develop that for Shade. Which I don't remember what Shade stands for. I'll look it up for next time. I suppose I could open the book, but I really don't want to. Anyhow, next is Resurrection Man number 1. Excuse me. This was really good. This was my pick of the week until I got to my last book for this week. This was good. This is another one of my wife's titles. She's really big. I think I said it already, but she's really big into the horror comics. So if that's what you're into, anytime I review one of her comics, I would suggest just go ahead and picking it up. I think you'll really love it. This was good. Resurrection Man, obviously when he dies, he comes back to life, and you see that happen twice in the first issue. Really great. Good storytelling. Art was good. That's one that, at least, like I said, at least for the first few months, I will be picking it up to see what's happening. Next, I have a title that was a bit of a disappointment for me. It was better than it had been at the end of its run in the previous DC universe. It just wasn't as good as some people had said it was, and that is Batman and Robin #1. You see that? Batman and Robin #1. Written by Peter Tomasi, art by Patrick Gleason. To me, the art was very disappointing in this. It was very cartoony and kind of campy looking, and that's not what I want when I read Batman. I am a Batman fan. I love the whole DC universe, but Batman is what I really focus on. He's my favorite character, my favorite line of characters, I suppose you could say, because Dick Grayson is actually my favorite character. But this was okay. We had started to see some progress at the end of the last Batman and Robin run, and Damian wasn't being such a 10-year-old douche, but now he's right back to being that, and so I don't know. It felt like they took a step back, although they do in one panel they really lead into or talk about or kind of, I guess, bring things together from the old DC universe. When Damian is like, he's asking Bruce, he's like, why don't you trust me? Dick trusted me. Obviously referring to when Dick Grayson was Batman while Bruce was gone. So anyhow, it was okay. Pick it up if you're a Batman fan. If you're not, I wouldn't waste my time with it at all. I'll read it for a few more months and hopefully it'll get better. Next is Green Lantern #1. Written by Geoff Johns, art by Doug Mahnke. Now, the cover is by Ivan Reyes. And I wish he had done the art for the rest of the book. Not that Mahnke did a bad job. I just wish Reyes had done the art for the rest of the book. I love his art, especially on Green Lantern. So I really wish he had done the art for the rest of the book. This was okay. A lot of setup in it. Also, I never finished War of the Green Lanterns. I've got about 6 issues left before I finish it. So there are a few things that didn't really make sense to me. Like, why is Hal no longer a lantern? And don't comment that down below. I want to find out for myself. Anyhow, I thought the title was okay. As you can see, Sinestro is now a Green Lantern again. A ring has chosen him. So I think it's going to be a great story. Geoff Johns, everything he does is great. The dude walks on water. So I'm really excited about this. It's just this one wasn't the best the best book this week. The best book this week, in my opinion, was a book that I didn't even have on my pull list. I just found it on the shelf and picked it up because they only had a couple copies left. And that is Superboy #1. And a lot of people were surprised when I tell them that this is going to be my pick. Scott Lobdell, I don't even think I've ever read anything by him before. R.B. Silva, I've seen some of the things that he's done, but I just really liked this. It's a really different, kind of unique Superboy origin story. Superboy is created from Lex Luthor and Superman, and in the comic, they know that Superman was the alien DNA used. They're trying to find out who the human DNA was. So this was really great. I definitely suggest picking this up. This is probably going to go on my pick list. Like I said, pick of the week was Superboy. I thought it was great. I suggest that anybody read it. It's really cool. A lot of interesting things happen. If you're not into Superman, don't worry about it. You don't have to be into Superman to like this Superboy title. So those were my books for this week. I hope everyone has enjoyed this. I'm getting ready to wrap it up here because I only have about 20 seconds left. Check out my friend here on YouTube, Blue Goblin. It's my friend Eddie. I went to high school with him. And if you live anywhere near Blytheville, Arkansas, go check out Arkham Comics up on Main Street. and enjoy your books. Have a good weekend.